Well, welcome back to the Vision IC Sweet Spot. And I'm delighted today to welcome Pom Chakravarti from QX. Pom is Chief Strategy Officer for the international outsourcing firm QX Global. Pom joined QX about 16 years ago while the business was still in its infancy. And he is now on the main board helping deliver QX's ambitious goals on a global stage. One of the most curious minds I've had the pleasure of working with, Pom has primarily the responsibility for the transformation and growth strategy. He lives in the UK and is based from QX's new London offices in the Shard. Welcome, Pom.
Well, thanks. I'm good to be here with you, Rob.
Yeah, so look, it's great to have you on here. You know the format, 5 sort of questions, okay. Keep it informal. But I think it'd be great if you could start by briefly explaining to the viewers what QX does and what your role is in the business.
Sure. So if I start with QX, basically, so QX is a global outsourcing service provider offering GBS and shared service solutions in finance, accounting, and recruitment. So we have clients in many sectors, including accountants in North America, UK, Ireland, right up to Australia. But then we also work with some multinational recruitment, manufacturing, food and beverages, and property development businesses. So we have like a global sales force and supports team, but they're supported by our strong delivery teams back in India, with close to 1,600 employees there working from 5 delivery centers. So essentially, if you ask what do we do, so we help our clients overcome their functional business challenges and design scalable solutions to enable business transformation for them. And we have our own 3P framework, which we call around people, process, and platform, which means optimized processes for our clients and massive cost savings as well. You asked me about my role. So if I talk about my role, it's more around consulting and advising our clients on operating models, on designing outsourcing solutions, while also working with our board, building strategies and taking new initiatives, and drawing a balance between formulating and maybe executing to keep expanding our global portfolio of clients and ensuring that we keep optimizing our service offerings to meet the changing demands and trends of the industry and our clients.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I mean, Pom, having spent sort of several months with you over the last year or so, yeah. I find it fascinating in terms of your insights in the sector. But focusing in on the sector, we'll come and talk about QX in a minute. How has the last sort of 12, 14 months affected the sector? What's it looking like, the outsourcing sector at the moment?
I mean, the outsourcing sector, if I talk about it globally, it has always been changing. And even if I look, I mean, it's not just about the 12, 14 months, it's just a constant change. So right from the financial crisis we saw back in 2007 and 8, businesses were outsourcing roles to low-cost centers in Asia and Latin America to reduce their costs. But then there was a phase around, outsourcing to bring in higher process efficiencies or filling in skilled roles. And then it matured towards designing solutions which were more scalable. And now, particularly for this 12, 14 months that you're talking about in this post-COVID world, as we call it, I think it is proven that the geographical boundaries are no longer important. So there is automatically a surge in demand for not only those previous factors, but also digital adoption. And many businesses are now trying to maximize on working with their outsourcing partners who can become like a center of excellence or mature from like a low-cost center to becoming like a high-value, performance-driven and tech-driven center to help their businesses achieve short and long-term goals.
Yeah, in terms of the last year, then you're right. I mean, the outsourcing sector has evolved immensely. But looking at the last year and looking at QX, we did actually interview Frank, the CEO,
right.
a few months back. But it'd be really interesting to hear how you would relate the story of QX over the last year and how you've had to adapt the business.
So if we look at the last year, I would say definitely it has been a challenging yet an interesting year. And if I think on top of my head, there are probably 5 things which we witnessed last year and how we adopted various things around it. So basically, when we went into this global lockdown back in March and April 2020, I think the lockdown restrictions in India particularly had serious restrictions compared to what we witnessed here, Rob, in the Western world. So I think the first priority was for us to safeguard our employees. So I still remember, we made few calls and we asked all of our staff members who were in the UK and US to quickly return back to their homes. We literally send them with their bags packed, in the cabs, saying, just board the first flight possible. So they returned back home. And then, we were focusing on the 5 delivery centers in India, and we started off with our working from home strategies for Mumbai and Delhi because they saw the massive surge being an international destination, and followed by other centers within a week. Then the second step was more around, I would say, the business continuity, because that was crucial. I mean, so what we did is we're just trying to ensure that everyone had their laptops, their broadband connections, and of course, the big challenge was to comply with the data protection regulations and the policies that we already have. So we had to quickly speak with our clients, draft up some additional contracts, rework on certain access mapping around IT. We had to use new collaboration tools. But then the really good thing was probably in less than 2 weeks, we were seamlessly connected with our clients, and we noticed that the efficiencies with work from home were surprisingly, much better, or much better than we anticipated, which was just simply great. And then moving on from there, it was also our clients, because we had to support our clients. So some clients in certain sectors were very massively affected, and we gave some flexibilities for interim period to them, but we ensured that we retained all our staff, and designed our own furlough scheme to ensure that they remained with us, which continued. From there, of course, it was just about living up to our commitments, because we're already committed to some of our new clients that we were trying to take on new projects, etc. We'd already signed up for those things. So we were basically focusing on doing the usual transitions which were done onshore, where our teams would fly to UK, America, or wherever. But now we were doing it virtually. So there was this virtual transition. So I think the last one would be probably the end of the first quarter last year, which I'm sure you will agree, Rob. I'm sure you must have seen with some other clients as well. Eventually, everybody realized by the end of the first quarter that this was going to be the new normal. And we at QX redesigned our processes for growth with this remote strategy in mind. And we were onboarding our new teams, we were training them, and we're supporting their well-being as well. So thanks to all of our staff members, including, of course, the BCP and the team particularly made our systems up and running. But I think they put a Herculean effort, which allowed us to continue servicing our clients. And everyone's delighted with the year-end results, and of course, the great customer CSAT feedbacks as well.
Brilliant. I mean, I think just looking on in, and you're right, looking at other clients, the ones that have had this sort of customer centricity coupled with the colleague centricity have really thrived, and the concomitant values of the QX business, I think, have shone through. So it's been a very painful year for everyone, but we've learned a lot, and I think businesses have shone where they focused in on the right things. So looking forward a bit, where do you see, strategists like yourself, we'll talk a bit about the long term, but in the short term, where do you see in 2021 the immediate opportunities, Pom?
If I really look at the opportunities, of course, and if you hear from industry experts, everybody's talking about we getting into this industrial revolution of 4.0. And similarly, the outsourcing industry where we work in, it is also maturing through a journey of 3.0 to 4.0 with more and more focus on not just the people skills or the skill sets and linear processes, but there's a huge push on higher efficiencies through tech-driven solutions. People have been talking about AI and ML, but it's still there. It's not that all businesses can adopt to such kind of technology as such. But even while we are trying to recover from this pandemic, I think I still see there are quite a few great opportunities in expanding our service portfolios within the next 12 months itself. And for example, we offer end-to-end finance services for finance functions. But I think there's a huge scope to move forward towards offering financial planning and analysis, which gives much more detailed insight to our clients. We recently launched our audit services for accountants, and it's been very successful. So we'll continue investing in growing that service. Then I think in this COVID world, we are seeing some interesting M&A activities. I wouldn't say that M&A activities have risen in fourfolds or something, but we're definitely seeing our clients looking at opportunities to have inorganic growth. So what we do is we can actually support them through these acquisitions by designing solutions which will allow a seamless transition and integration within the two businesses. So we can offer those services as well. And then the opportunities to accelerate the digital roadmap with our clients, that is just limitless. I mean, there is so much that we can do. And of course, it varies as per the appetite of our clients and the sectors that they work in. For example, there is so much that we can do in the recruitment sector where we can empower recruiters. There's so much that we can do in the finance segment where there are new tools coming in with many more new features. We can adopt those. So there's quite a few opportunities there to accelerate the digital plans. And lastly, I think you can't ignore the people and the talent pool. So what's happening globally is very interesting is businesses like us now are trying to maximize this availability of talent pool while we continue with this flexible working environment, because there's no immediate requirement for people to come back to a particular destination or a particular office site. That's allowing us to keep hiring and get better talent pool as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? I think you said to me the other day that this kind of last 12 months has been a case study, almost a test case of how we will work, and the good things that will be adopted going forward, and the bad things or inefficient things will be jettisoned. But it's also taught a lot of people that what QX does very well in an outsourcing sector it isn't as risky as perhaps some people had originally perceived. I think that's very exciting. So to finally then finish off, a visionary like yourself, we always ask if you wouldn't mind just giving us a very top line view of where you see QX going over the next 5 years.
Next 5 years. So yeah, I think as a business, of course, we are very, very clear with our roadmap and growth plans, and that was conceptualized by our CEO Frank Robinson, and of course supported by the board. So we are aiming to double our business through a combination of organic and inorganic growth by 2022, which will happen in the next 12 to 18 months itself, and we'll continue expanding into the Northern American and the APAC region. But now that you've asked me what's my vision for QX, I would say we already have a very good client portfolio within UK and European market, and we are already expanding into the Northern American region and few other regions with our strong sales pipeline. So if I would try to summarize my vision, I would see that QX becoming the global market leader in outsourcing, particularly in the niche industries we are operating for: accountants, property development, manufacturing, and the recruitment sector.
Brilliant. Pom, look, it's been great. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your thoughts. So wishing you all the best, and speak to you soon. Thanks very much, Pom.